Question Lane. Solving problems through the process of questions and answers.
The free education model that you referenced in Kalamazoo, Michigan. What do you think of Senator Bernie Sanders' idea of free college education to kind of, decrease some of these wealth gaps or educational attainment gaps as a way to kind of counter these programs like dual enrollment that creates inequality further? What do you think about his plan to do free education for state institutions?
Well, I don't think it's a good idea. One, for the sort of reasons that have been pointed out for what happened in Kalamazoo, is I think the Sanders plan would unintentionally, I think, end up being a subsidy for people who can already afford to go to college, and probably be less useful. I think it'd be far better if it were means tested. If instead of giving everybody free college, you did more to support, make Pell Grants bigger and reduce people's dependence on student loans would be, I think, a far, so that people who qualify for Pell Grants get more money would be a far more useful thing than, subsidizing college education for middle-class people who can already reasonably afford it. And, people complain about the growing cost of college education, but a lot of times what they're talking about is the, $50,000 a year private schools on the East and West Coasts, and not, your local public institution like Arkansas State, which for upper middle-class people, the cost of that is quite attainable. I mean, I think you're talking about $7,000 a year in tuition or something like that. But that's still a lot of money. If you, I think, trying to think, a full 20 or 30% of our students here come from households with household incomes below $18,000 a year. $7,000 is a lot of money if your household income is $18,000 a year. So for people in that situation, I think, free college makes all kinds of sense. But subsidizing the local doctor's kids to go to ASU for free doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I don't think. And I think the Kalamazoo experiment. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so an amendment to the plan, making it means tested in terms of financially, or should it be a merit-based component, or should it be just income-based?
Well, that I think that's a different issue, and I think that there's free college, and then there's a whole discussion of sort of college for everyone. And I think as soon as you get college for everyone, college will cease. You just create a kind of arms race. Right now, people use college degrees to distinguish themselves from high school, and we pretty much do high school for everyone now, right? That's the default assumption, is that everybody will go to high school. Not everybody finishes, but our assumption is that everybody will go to high school. As soon as the assumption becomes that everybody goes to college, a college degree is going to be about as valuable as a high school degree in terms of employment. And then everybody's going to need a master's degree, or some and then once everybody has a master's degree, you're going to need some other degree. So I think that you do need to make college more available to people who are prepared to take advantage of that. At the same time, I think there's a risk in trying to just shovel everybody into college and assume that's going to fix everything for everybody. I think we would be far better served by, European-style apprenticeship programs and things like that. I don't know if there was an article by Nick Hanauer in The Atlantic maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago called Educationism, it had the word educationism in the title. And he basically said that, we're trying to use education to fix all of the country's problems. And he's a billionaire investor, kind of guy. And he maintains that the reason investing in educational reform is so appealing to people like him and Bill Gates and other people with billions of dollars is that it creates it sort of fosters the idea that if we can just fix education and make it available, sufficient amounts of college and high-quality college and high schools and so forth available to all Americans, that'll fix the inequality problem. And they'll get to keep their billions of dollars. And he said, this is false. The problems are bigger than education, and having everybody go to college isn't going to fix the sort of social inequality and economic inequality problems we have in the country. It's tempting to believe that, especially if you have billions of dollars and would like to keep them. But the real fix is probably going to be something more radical than free college. And it's probably going to cost those guys more of their billions.
Sounds like some type of taxation or New Deal type of program is something drastic that you're talking about?
Well, yeah. I mean, or what Hanauer is talking about. He doesn't lay out any specifics, but he has warned on other occasions, like an article, I think, in 2014 in Politico, that people like himself and his fellow billionaires need to do something, or they should expect angry mobs with pitchforks. So I think he is aware of the sort of explosive potential of inequality in the country, and is concerned now that everybody is sort of banking too much on the potential of higher education or just education in general to fix that issue. So I think Sanders is Oh, go ahead.
No, you could go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Bernie Sanders is entirely well-intentioned with all of this. I've lived in Vermont for a long time. I'm used to seeing Bernie at the 4th of July parade in Warren, Vermont, and so forth. But it's a nice idea, but I don't think it's going to fix anything big. It'll make life easier for some middle-class families that would otherwise have to shell out college tuition, but it's not going to address cost of living and those sorts of things that are still going to be expenses. And the advantages will accrue probably more to wealthier people than they do to poor people, just like the Kalamazoo situation did, even though that was not the intention of either of those programs.
What is the name of the billionaire that you referenced from the Atlantic article?
Nick Hanauer.
Nick Hanauer?
Yeah, let me just check the spelling on Hanauer. I get the amazing powers of Google here.
His comments that you referenced about there being pitchforks of people being angry over their financial situation, that sounds almost similar to the picture that Andrew Yang, the presidential candidate, talked about, where his solution to this type of inequality is to suggest something like a universal basic income of, I think, $1,000 a month. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. I think he's also a very wealthy guy, and that is actually among the billionaire set. That seems to be a fairly popular idea, and I think that is in part because they are anxious to, as all of us non-billionaires become increasingly less useful to them, that will have the potential to sort of, as work changes and as machines can do more and more of what a lot of us do. I mean, it's coming in all kinds of, it seems to be coming in all kinds of different, it's easy to imagine self-driving trucks eliminating truck driving jobs. Pretty easy for me to imagine algorithms grading a lot of freshman essays. You may no longer need a person with a master's degree in 18 hours to teach a high school course. Pretty soon the computer may be able to do it itself. And probably the computers will take the class also for the students. We may all become largely irrelevant. And I think the universal basic income is appealing to those people because it's a way of adapting to a world in which there's a lot less work available to people, to the vast majority of people.
Okay,
I'm not sure that it's a bad idea, but I do think their motives are more complicated than just making us all $1,000 a month richer.
So to kind of wrap it up, what suggestions would you give to students or parents who may not be, like I said earlier, have the type of access to these type of programs to take advantage of these type of situations so that they could go into higher education with less debt and to be more prepared? What would you suggest that these parents and students do to get prepared and possibly take advantage of this dual enrollment craze that's taken over the country?
Well, I think if it's at your school, you'd probably be silly not to participate. If it's not at your school, and not all schools offer dual enrollment, or they may not offer that many courses, I think that's when you need to start showing up at school board meetings and demanding that school boards make these things available. Now, I would much prefer that everybody did their gen ed in college. I think that would be a far better approach to this. But that's a fight that would be really hard for parents of high school students to fight on their own. So in terms of if you have a kid and you're in a high school that doesn't have college algebra as a concurrent enrollment course, I think that's where you go and yell at the school board and agitate for, elect people who are willing to make those things happen.
Do you have any upcoming events or research on this topic that you might want to share with the audience so they could probably do some more research on you?
No, I've actually, most of my sort of agitation has been about learning outcomes assessment. But if people want to kind of follow up with what I'm doing with higher education stuff, I have a blog called badassessment.org, where I write about learning outcomes assessment, but other like that Nick Hanauer article. I did a blog piece about that and had an excerpt of Hanauer's thing on there. So if people want to kind of follow up with what's annoying me at any particular moment, badassessment.org is a good place to look.
Perfect. Any social media?
No, I'm other than Strava, which is for bike racing, I don't do social media.
Okay, so we'll just put the blog in the description.
Okay. Yeah, I can send you a link.
Perfect. No, please do. Thanks for the time, and if there's any type of news on this topic, will we be able to reach out to you and get you on the podcast again?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, and appreciate that.
All right. Enjoy talking to you.
Sure.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay up to date for more videos by clicking the bell notification icon and following our social media. For any of the people, groups, companies, or videos that were referenced in this video, don't forget to check the description and/or the pinned comment section. The question lane, solving problems through the process of questions and answers.